Hello, everybody. What is good? What is good? Oh my goodness. We are in the middle of a winter storm and Arctic blast in Texas, and it is day 5 without water. I have power, thank goodness. So I'm able to continue charging things and able to connect with folks and do some business as usual. But there's some unreliable internet going on too. Roads are horrible. You can't drive anywhere. It's just a sheet of ice. Stores, lines to get to them. Then you get inside and there's nothing there. Gas stations are totally vacant and they don't have gas. It's just wild, which also created part of the drive or inspiration for this message. I know that some people operate by service and that's just wired into their DNA, but some people do not, or some people are helpless in the situation. They just feel powerless. They don't know how to help. Sometimes in like a huge situation like this too, it can just feel like that. If you can't drive down the street, if you can't prepare a meal and bring it to a friend, right? Like if there's things blocking you, it can feel powerless and then you don't know what to do as far as service. So I wanted to visit the topic of service because while for some it's common sense, for others, common sense is not so common and you never want to assume. And so what I like to do with any topic is do first a word study and just literally break it down into its basic form, power pack it and back that sucker up, give it context with usually the word, because I build my life on the truth, right? Then really be prayerful and intentional about what is inspired action versus just doing a good thing, okay? Because sometimes it's not actually helpful to help. So I want to clarify some of this because sometimes it's just not always as clear as you think it would be. So in the instance of breaking down a word, service, which I find really helpful, again, it just brings different things to your awareness. Service is an act of helpful activity. Okay, so when you think of qualifying service, is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it helpful? I like to use the scripture, whatsoever is praiseworthy, noble, right? When you put service through that filter, think about that, right? So an act of helpful activity, help, aid, to do someone a service, okay? Supply, delivering value. Trying to see if there's any other good ones. Dun, dun, dun. Repair, provide something to someone, fixing something that's broken, right? So when you think about service, and maybe you already do feel like you're doing things to serve, but are they helpful? Are they helpful? An example of this could be that your basic needs, like your very basic needs aren't even met and you're trying to go out and serve other people. There are instances of where God is leading us to do something like that and it's connected to our obedience, but that's not always the case. And sometimes that can do more harm than good. For example, in a situation like what we're in right now, if you aren't even having your basic needs met and then you're trying to, let's say, drive on icy roads and go help somebody else, that is putting yourself in danger when you're not even in a really healthy state to be able to do that in the first place. With me? Okay, so service. Now, in terms of scripture, there's some that are really, really powerful as far as breaking this down and making this really helpful. Okay, let me find. Here we go. 1 Peter 4, just in general, read that when it comes to service. But 1 Peter 4, 9 through 11, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. Without grumbling, that is huge. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. There's another verse that says, every good and perfect gift is from above. So are you using whatever's been given to you, your resource, your gifts, your talents, right? Are you using that to serve one another and steward God's grace, okay? Whoever speaks as one who speaks oracles of God. Whoever serves as one who serves by the strength God supplies. That is huge. In order that in everything God may be glorified through Christ. To him be the glory and dominion forever. So that is a motive check also. When you are being of service, quote unquote, what is your motive? Is the motive to draw attention to you, to draw media to you, to draw praise to you, or is it actually an inspired action? Is it something that God is leading you to do? Because a lot of times when it's God leading you, you do it without any sort of strings attached. So you have no desire for reciprocation. You have no need for praise or any sort of attention. It's something that you would do on the side. So for example, somebody might broadcast on social media how they've helped somebody when they could have gone and privately served that person and not brought any attention. With me? So there's another verse too that says, never let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. That one, you're tracking with me, but it's really important to keep your heart right as well. Okay. Galatians 5:13, for you are called to freedom, only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh. And so whatever like the fleshly nature desires, but through love, serve one another. So the freedom, who the Son sets free is free indeed. The freedom that Christ has given you, use it to love and serve one another. Okay? Not to just elevate, self-promote, all of those things, right? Because as you seek the kingdom first, all the other stuff will be added to you. So God, when you're busy about his business, will get busy about yours and make sure that every good and perfect gift is brought to you. However, your freedom is to love and serve one another. Okay. And then I've got two more. Colossians 3:23-24. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord. So that's really important. Anytime that you do anything, you're doing it as unto the Lord. So even your job, you're there because God is providing for you, and you're working there not according to your boss or your coworkers, but according to him. Unto him. Okay. And then lastly, this is how that breaks it down, is you do everything unto the Lord. So this is Matthew. Dun, dun, dun. Let me pull up a little bit more of it. 40. Okay. So this is Matthew 25. So powerful. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when do we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when do we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. So that's just emphasizing or highlighting even the smallest act of service. And sometimes that we think that service needs to be big, grand, huge, right? But even the smallest act, giving clothes, right now, giving blankets to a neighbor, right? If you have power, letting neighbors come stay with you and spend the night. If you have food, right? And resource, a lot of things that people have been, having in their freezers and their refrigerators have gone bad. It's a total waste, right? So they have no food. So if you have food and can provide a meal to somebody that's, down the street from you, those are things that you can do, you can choose to do, right? So think about that. And that's so simple, and it can radically change somebody's life. They will remember that forever. Okay. But here are some powerful ways that you can really use your ability to change somebody's life. I have 7 of them. And if you haven't already thought about it, these might inspire you, or it might just affirm the service that you're already doing. Okay. But this is also something that you can model for other people too. You don't do it for that, but sometimes people genuinely don't know, but that's never an excuse. Okay. So number 1, you can donate. Like in Texas right now, when people aren't able to drive on the roads or get to stores or get gas or get resources, all of that, we've got homeless populations, we've got elderly, we've got warming shelters and things that could use resource that people in other states can donate and provide. So number 1 is donate. You can donate needs to disaster relief. You can donate needs to homeless shelters and centers. You can donate to a lot of times churches and nonprofits that you can also vet to make sure that they're being of good service. But you can donate if you can't get there and volunteer in person. They can always use the cash flow. Okay. Number 2 is, let me get to it here. You can feed the hungry. So quite practically, it takes some work to actually assemble and assist with distribution of food and resource to people. So if you can actually be like boots on the ground and feed the hungry and just connect locally with folks that are doing that work already, that makes a big difference. Okay. You don't actually need to start your own foundation or nonprofit to do that. You can do something pretty simple and pretty small, because a lot of times nonprofits and these folks that are providing these services don't have enough support and manpower. So you can show up, take a day out of your week or even your month that you just show up and do that for a couple hours. Number 3, you can donate your product. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, a lot of folks that have their own businesses, that have their own products, that have their own services, and you can donate it. You can also gift it. So consider that. It's a beautiful way of giving back. If you have an online course or program of some kind, you can bring that to a Boys and Girls Club, let's say, or you can bring that to some nonprofit and do a training for them or give them access to it for, let's say, a month at a time, right? Whatever it happens to be, you can offer that, okay? Number 4 is you can mentor. So you can do that in a field specific way. So if you have some expert knowledge and expertise that you can deliver, that's a really great way to bring some acceleration and kind of like incubate people in knowledge and practical experience that will cut off a learning curve for them and just truly be valuable. You can also think in terms of what you overcome. So if you are somebody that's been delivered of an addiction, right? If you're somebody that has kind of grown up in the school of hard knocks and maybe didn't have a parental covering and really learned a lot of practical knowledge and skill that you can mentor a teenager or college students or something, find who it is that you can really serve and create pathways to offer that mentorship to people. So valuable. And honestly, when you do something like that, from personal experience, it's almost way more fulfilling for you than it is even for the other person. Number 5, volunteer your services, whatever they are. So similar example with the nonprofits. I used to work in a ministry called Celebrate Recovery. And so I gave them lots of time, right? So there was a 12-step that I was leading. I offered training to new leaders. And then there's an actual small groups and things connected to that too. So that was 3 days a week that I was offering services. And sometimes there's ongoing support. So if you're a sponsor for somebody, for example, that's additional hours, but you can volunteer your services. That's totally unpaid. And that's a great way to be giving back as well. And connected to that, I would say when you do a service like that of some kind, you don't even recognize the impact. Even if you change one life, you could potentially change a generation, because changing one life changes their circle of influence and so on, right? Number 6, make service a personal or a company mission core value, right? So a lot of times in life, we can be kind of distracted or lazy or not focused, right? This is usually rooted in an unclear identity or a shaky identity, but it's also from not having a clear vision or mission or core values, okay? So the way I look at core values, and I have my top 5 handy at all times, and then my backup values, right? But what they work as is like guardrails. So when you picture a bridge, for example, an overpass, it has guardrails, right? So you don't go flying off the bridge. So that's what values do also. They make sure that you can be really clear in your decision making. You can let your yes be yes and your no be no. And you can really assess, is this a connection that I'm meant to pour into? Is this somebody that I'm able to build with? Is this somebody that's going to be on the journey with me? Is this seasonal? Like, you can really assess those things when you understand and recognize what your values are, and it takes a lot of the drama and confusion out of the mix. So make service, if it's not already part of your core values, okay? And take the lead in how you initiate ways to follow through on this. So for example, if you have your own company, make it a part of what you do. If you have a fitness company, let's say that you do online fitness, Maybe every Saturday you do a free workout session and anybody can hop on a Zoom call and join and do a workout together. Free, right? Or maybe you have a smaller organization and you can just take your team, okay, and do some local project. Maybe you do go and work at a soup kitchen or something, right? And you bond together in that time and also give back and are of incredible service. So find ways and take initiative in organizing those and allowing those to unfold. All right. And then lastly, number 7 is take advantage of corporate matching programs. So a lot of times companies will match donations to a nonprofit. Okay, so it might take some coordinating and preparation at the front end, but you can call around, and that's a really easy way to increase a nonprofit's cash flow without adding additional expenses. Okay, so think about that. All right, if you have this urge to give back, or if you haven't even thought about it, or if you don't already make service a part of your life, realize that you don't need to save the world in order to be really impactful. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. It's actually these small, simple things that are in your life that add up over time. Okay. And I really recommend checking the motivation behind how you show up, assessing if it's actually helpful, and then also planning for it and scheduling it. A lot of times we fail to serve because we fail to plan. Right? Some things are spontaneous and some things are of the moment, like in a crisis of some kind, but they don't have to be. And you can make it an active part of your lifestyle, whether that's once a month, once a week, a couple hours every week, whatever that is. It would be truly valuable to extend those gifts that you've been given. And in the doing of that, there's so much creativity and fulfillment that's involved too. So think about that. And I would love to hear from you if you're currently making a difference, or if these ideas are helpful, or if something's been on your heart. I would love to know if this validated that. If you haven't already, I would also love if you would follow the channel and be the first to know really anytime a new video comes out. But this is all free service and I do it to be of value. So it would honor me so much if you would follow the channel. You can also connect with me over at julianapage.com for coaching, courses, books, blog, the podcast, so many ways that I just try to show up and give free content and connect with you. So get in touch with me in any of those means. And until next time, guys, stay blessed.